Dark waves crash against a weathered ship, moonlight gleaming off its soaked wooden planks. On board, pirates with eyes as cold as the deep sea whisper tales of treacherous betrayals and unspeakable punishments. Tales of men abandoned on desolate islands with nothing but their regret for company, and of those dragged under ships feeling the full weight of their misdeeds. Spanning the late 17th to early 18th centuries, it was a time of lawlessness on the high seas. While legendary pirates like Blackbeard and Captain Kidd are etched into history for their treasure hunts, what truly cemented their fearsome reputation were the brutal ways they disciplined their foes, and sometimes even their own crew. We've all heard of pirates making their enemies walk the plank, but what if I told you that this was just the tip of the iceberg, that there were punishments so gruesome they made walking the plank seem like a mercy? Ever heard of marooning or keel hauling? Today we dive deep into the chilling tales of pirate justice, unraveling the mysteries behind their most infamous punishments. Welcome to Past Flicks. Marooned mysteries, isolated desolation, or ultimate escape. Imagine the sheer terror of standing blindfolded on the sun-scorched sands of an unfamiliar island. The coarse laughter of pirates and the distant hum of a departing ship is the last thing you hear before being enveloped in a deafening silence. This, my friends, was the chilling reality of marooning. Dating back to the early 18th century, marooning was not just a sentence, but a living nightmare. Left on a remote coast or an uninhabited island, the victim had nothing but vast expanses of water on all sides, making escape a seemingly impossible endeavor. But why this particular punishment? Why not just a swift death by the cutlass? Pirates, in their twisted sense of justice, believed in giving a second chance, albeit a slim one. Marooning was their answer. It was cruel in its simplicity, a punishment that allowed the sea and nature to decide a person's fate rather than a swift executioner's blade. For a pirate, ostracization from their band of outlaws and being left alone with the vastness of the ocean and sky was a fate many considered worse than death. But pirates weren't entirely heartless. As a twisted form of generosity, the marooned soul might find themselves with a few days of rations and hardtack or water, and sometimes, in an even crueler jest, a weapon, a knife to fend off wild animals, or, more darkly, a pistol with a single shot, leaving the person with the morbid choice of waiting for inevitable death or ending their misery on their own terms. Surviving marooning was like pulling off an impossible heist against the unforgiving forces of nature. The vast majority found themselves succumbing to the elements, despair, or both. But there are exceptions to every rule, and amidst these somber tales, some rose above their dire circumstances, proving that the human spirit can be indomitable. Alexander Selkirk, as we've noted, is the most famous of these survivors. His harrowing 4-year ordeal on the Juan Fernandez Islands in the early 1700s paints a picture of a man's determination to endure against all odds. Relying on his cunning, Selkirk was said to have tamed feral cats to control the rat population, crafted tools from wood, and dined on goats that had been left behind by earlier sailors. But he wasn't the only one. Philip Ashton was another such soul, a mariner who was captured by pirates in 1722. After refusing to join the crew of the notorious pirate Edward Lowe, Ashton was marooned on Roatan, an island off the coast of Honduras. He survived there for 16 months, living off of turtle eggs and fruits, battling isolation, and escaping from hostile indigenous tribes before being rescued by a passing ship. These tales of endurance aren't just mere anecdotes, they are testaments to the extraordinary lengths to which human beings can go to persevere. Faced with the direst of circumstances, these men harnessed every ounce of their wit, willpower, and resourcefulness, transforming themselves from helpless victims of pirate cruelty to legends of survival. The chilling act of marooning has captivated storytellers and audiences alike for generations. Its dramatic interplay of isolation, despair, hope, and survival offers a rich tapestry of human emotion and experience. While the desolation of being left to fend for oneself in the great expanse of nature is harrowing, the stories that emerge from this ordeal often celebrate the human spirit's remarkable resilience. Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe is the cornerstone of this genre. Published in 1719, it chronicles the life of a man marooned on a deserted island. Drawing heavily from Selkirk's real-life experiences, Defoe crafts a tale that delves deep into a man's psyche wrestling with solitude, survival, and self-introspection. But the cultural fascination with marooning doesn't stop there. The theme resurfaced in the 19th century with Jules Verne's The Mysterious Island. This novel intricately weaves the tale of castaways who use science, knowledge, and teamwork to harness the island's resources and forge a life for themselves. It beautifully captures the essence of innovation and adaptability, two traits vital for survival. In more contemporary times, the allure of marooning continues to be explored. Movies like Castaway, starring Tom Hanks, bring to the screen the emotional and physical challenges faced when stranded. Through a gripping narrative and powerful performance, it illuminates the psychological effects of prolonged isolation and the indomitable spirit of hope. Even pop culture references from episodes in TV series like Star Trek to hit survival video games like Stranded Deep show that the idea of marooning, with its blend of fear, adventure, and resilience, remains deeply ingrained in our collective consciousness. Dragged to despair, the terrifying truth of keel hauling. Imagine the horror of being tied to a rope, suspended over the water's edge, and then brutally dragged underneath a massive ship, feeling every inch of its rough underbelly. This isn't the stuff of nightmares, but rather a dark page from the annals of maritime history known as keel hauling. The victim would be dragged from one side of the ship to the other, making a harrowing journey beneath the vessel's keel, battling the darkness, pressure, and the cold grip of the sea. Keel hauling was not a punishment designed for the faint of heart. Every moment was calculated torture. The barnacles, tiny sea creatures with razor-sharp shells that clung to the ship's underside, would mercilessly scrape, cut, and tear into the victim's flesh. If the abrasions didn't get you, the very real danger of drowning would. Keel hauling wasn't just about punishment. It was a visceral display of power intended to deter any would-be mutineers or offenders. The very utterance of the word keel hauling often evokes visions of skull and crossbone flags flapping in the wind and merciless pirates meting out brutal justice. Yet the true history of this savage punishment paints a much more complex picture, one where even the world's most disciplined and organized naval forces indulged in such practices. The Dutch, recognized as one of the maritime superpowers of the 17th century, maintained extensive and meticulous records. It is within these annals that the first documented instance of keel hauling can be found, dating back to the early 1600s. By the mid-17th century, keel hauling had become an established form of punishment in the Dutch Navy. A notable case is that of Jan Evertsen, a respected Dutch admiral, who in 1667 ordered a keel hauling punishment that is meticulously recorded in naval logs. While the British Royal Navy was a cornerstone of Britain's global dominance during the 17th and 18th centuries, maintaining discipline in such a vast force was no small feat. Though keel hauling was never a standard or widespread punishment, records indicate its occasional use, especially during times of mutiny or significant insubordination. For instance, there's an account from 1681 where Admiral Arthur Herbert, later the 1st Earl of Torrington, ordered the keel hauling of a sailor aboard the HMS Cambridge. This incident was recorded in detail, from the sailor's offenses to the grisly punishment's execution. While pirates might have employed keel hauling in a more arbitrary manner, swayed by the whims and desires of a ship's captain, formal navies had a more bureaucratic approach. In the case of the Dutch or the British, keel hauling would typically be ordered only after a trial or formal judgment, even if those proceedings were brief and heavily biased. The 18th century brought a powerful intellectual and cultural movement widely known as the Age of Enlightenment. This period was characterized by an emphasis on reason, science, and individual rights, leading to significant shifts in societal values. During this transformative age, practices like keel hauling came under intense examination. Philosophers like Voltaire, John Locke, and Jean-Jacques Rousseau championed the rights of individuals and challenged the traditional institutions and norms that perpetuated cruelty. Their writing and discourses permeated through societies of Europe, igniting debates about human rights and the ethics of punishment. Against this backdrop of newfound societal introspection, keel-hauling with its visceral brutality became a focal point of criticism. Such a graphic and painful punishment was increasingly viewed as incompatible with the enlightened values taking root across Europe. The Dutch, ever at the forefront of maritime practices, were among the first to take official action. In 1750, the Dutch Navy officially denounced and abolished the act of keel-hauling. This monumental decision was not merely a naval ordinance, but a reflection of the changing societal ethos, where reason and compassion began to take precedence over brute force. The British Royal Navy, a colossal force with deeply entrenched traditions, took longer to eradicate this savage punishment. However, by the early 19th century, under both public pressure and internal reforms, keel-hauling was finally phased out. Admiral Lord Nelson, among others in the British naval leadership, advocated for more humane methods of discipline, recognizing the detrimental effects of such brutal practices on morale and unity. With its potent blend of physical torment and psychological terror, the horror of keel-hauling has been a rich vein for artists to mine. It's been immortalized in tales of the sea, encapsulating the brutality and danger of life in the age of sail. In his epic novel, The Count of Monte Cristo, Alexander Dumas paints a vivid picture of this punishment, showcasing its role in maritime discipline and its devastating effects on the human psyche. Similarly, Robert Louis Stevenson's classic Treasure Island touches on the brutality of old naval punishments, with keel-hauling looming as a dark specter in the background. On screen, keel-hauling has been portrayed in films such as Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest, where the sheer horror of the act is brought to life in chilling detail. While sometimes sensationalized, these depictions capture the essence of an era where the line between discipline and cruelty was perilously thin. As we transition from marooning to keel-hauling, we're confronted with two sides of the same coin: the solitary, slow-burning terror of being left alone versus the immediate, visceral horror of physical torment. Both punishments, each harrowing in its own right, underscore the perilous and often brutal nature of life on the high seas during the age of piracy and exploration. As shocking as these tales may be, they offer a window into a bygone era, a time of uncharted waters, relentless danger, and the inexorable human spirit that dared to navigate them. This is Pastflix, and we'll see you next time.
As you sit in front of your computer screen watching this video, have you ever asked yourself the age-old question, where did we come from and who created us? Well, today we're going to delve deep into the fascinating world of the Anunnaki, the revered alien gods from Nibiru, who it is said created human civilization. According to ancient Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki were a race of extraterrestrial beings who came to Earth from the planet Nibiru. This planet, also known as the 12th planet, is believed to be on a 600-year orbit around our sun. The story goes that these advanced beings genetically engineered Homo sapiens to work as laborers in their gold mines. Interestingly, the Anunnaki have been depicted in ancient texts as having humanoid-like features and were regarded as gods by the ancient Sumerians. They were said to be tall, with elongated skulls and advanced technology that enabled them to travel through space and time. Some skeptics may argue that the idea of aliens creating human civilization is far-fetched, but the evidence supporting the idea is compelling. For instance, there are ancient cave paintings from around the world that depict beings with elongated skulls and large eyes, characteristics often associated with the Anunnaki. Thousands of ancient artifacts have been unearthed, displaying advanced technology that can't be explained by the science of the time. This includes objects like machinery, batteries, and even flying objects, all of which supposedly predate any known historical civilization. For example, in 1900, a group of artifacts known as the Baghdad Battery were discovered in Iraq. The battery is made up of a clay jar, a copper cylinder, and an iron rod, and is thought to date back to around 250 BC. Although it is not certain what it was used for, some researchers believe that it was used to electroplate gold onto silver objects. Similarly, the Antikythera mechanism, discovered in Greece in 1901, is an ancient Greek device that is considered to be the world's first analog computer. It was used to predict astronomical positions and eclipses for calendrical and astrological purposes. So what happened to the Anunnaki? According to the same ancient Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki eventually left Earth, possibly because of a catastrophic event on their planet Nibiru. Before departing, they left behind certain knowledge and technologies that were to be passed down to future generations. Some conspiracy theorists speculate that the Anunnaki never really left and have been here all along, secretly manipulating humanity from behind the scenes. They point to various conspiracy theories, including those surrounding secret societies like the Illuminati, as evidence of this. Did the Anunnaki genetically engineer us for a greater purpose? This question has been the subject of much debate and speculation. Some researchers believe that the Anunnaki created humans as a slave race to mine gold for them. Others believe that humans were created as a way for the Anunnaki to transfer their own consciousness to Earth. Still, others believe that the Anunnaki created humans as part of a grand experiment to see how they would evolve and interact with the world around them. Whatever the case may be, it is clear that the Anunnaki played a significant role in shaping human history and culture. Is it possible that the Anunnaki will one day return to Earth? This is another question that has been the subject of much speculation. Some believe that the return of the Anunnaki is imminent, and that they will usher in a new era of human consciousness and understanding. Others believe that the Anunnaki are long gone, and that their legacy lives on only in the myths and legends of various cultures. Some researchers also believe that the Anunnaki were responsible for jump-starting human civilization. According to their theory, the Anunnaki not only created humans as a labor force, but also taught them various skills and technologies, including agriculture, architecture, and mathematics. This theory is based on the idea that the sudden emergence of advanced civilizations in ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt could not have occurred without outside intervention. The ancient astronaut theory suggests that the Anunnaki may have had a direct influence on many of the world's religions and mythologies. For example, the Sumerian creation myth, the Enuma Elish, describes the creation of the world and the rise of human civilization as the result of a battle between two opposing forces. One of these forces is the god Marduk, who is believed to have been an Anunnaki deity. Similarly, the ancient Hindu text, the Mahabharata, contains references to flying machines and other advanced technologies that some believe were provided by extraterrestrial beings. Despite the compelling evidence and theories surrounding the Anunnaki, mainstream science remains skeptical about their existence and influence on human civilization. Many scientists argue that the artifacts and texts cited by ancient astronaut theorists can be explained by natural phenomena or human creativity. They also point out that the idea of a 600-year orbit for Nibiru is scientifically implausible. However, proponents of the Anunnaki theory argue that mainstream science is limited by its narrow-mindedness and failure to consider alternative explanations for the mysteries of our world. They point to the fact that many scientific breakthroughs throughout history have come from outside-the-box thinking and unconventional ideas. The Anunnaki theory also raises important questions about the nature of human existence and our place in the universe. If extraterrestrial beings did create us, what does that say about our purpose and destiny? And if they are still out there somewhere, what is their ultimate goal? In conclusion, the Anunnaki remains one of the most fascinating and mysterious topics in the field of ancient astronaut theory. While mainstream science may dismiss the idea of ancient aliens, the evidence and theories surrounding the Anunnaki cannot be easily explained away. Whether or not they truly exist and created human civilization may never be definitively proven, but the questions they raise about our place in the universe and the nature of our existence will continue to captivate and inspire us for generations to come. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in more videos like this one, we've got plenty more to check out. Simply click on the next video on your screen to continue watching. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with our latest content. We appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you again soon.